Hello viewers, the question is whether Donald Trump's bluster, if he uses that bluster, will be able to convince or bully Russia into submission. I have a feeling, if you look at the balance of power on the battlefield on eastern Ukraine, where the line of confrontation is, where Russia is prevailing in the battlefield, where the Ukrainian army, the underfunded, the under-weaponized army, the Ukrainian army, is crumbling every day. I don't think Putin is such a geopolitical baby that Donald Trump's bluster will be able to convince him to stop or end this conflict in Ukraine. I think Putin very well understands the balance of power and that Russia has a driving seat. He is enjoying the driving seat, and it would be almost impossible for Donald Trump to bully Russia into submission. If he thinks that he, with his power, with his bluster, with his personality, will be able to convince Putin, I think he is either foolish or he does not understand the geopolitical realities in the region. The second issue I want to talk about in this vlog is why the US empire, the West in general, hate Russia, hate China. I'll tell you why. You see, if you look at the balance of power in the world, there are three major superpowers in this world. Number one, the US, the ascendant superpower. China, the second superpower, which is very close to the US power right now, both in terms of military and in terms of economic and political might. And then Russia, the third power, which is economically relatively small compared to the US and China, but politically and militarily speaking, it has a significant standing army, just like Chinese army. It has significant air force, air defense systems, and most importantly, strategically speaking, it has a cache of nuclear arsenals that can hit the US landmass at will. That aspect, that geopolitical balance of power, basically leads the US and the West to hate Russia, because the Russians cannot be bullied into submissions, cannot be dictated from the diktats, from the orders of the West and White House in general. That is the reason why primarily I feel the US empire, all the presidents in the US and in the West hate Russia, hate China, because they cannot be subdued, they cannot be used and kowtowed to prevail or to basically fulfill the US and the West's interests in general. The third thing that I want to talk about in this vlog is the assumption which Donald Trump, which I think foolishly assume that he will be able to finish this war or to end this war in Ukraine within 24 hours of his taking presidency. I think this is foolish to the extreme because of the balance of power in this region. Russia, it is now a consensus not only in the Western world but also outside the Western world that the Russian army is prevailing and will prevail in Ukraine. There is a significant shortages of the arms, weapons, and more importantly, the trained personnel in the Ukrainian army. And Russia, with its significant manufacturing industry, its significant arms industry, and significant firepower and the trained personnel compared to Ukraine, will be able to dominate the battlefield and is already dominating the battlefield. So that is the reason why I think the balance of power is in Russian favor. But secondly, to end this conflict, Putin had said that the negotiations will only start if two preconditions are being met. The first precondition is that all the annexed territory which the Russian state has annexed since February 2022, which includes the 4 oblasts and the Crimean Peninsula, and more importantly the Donbas region with its rich mineral and farm resources, will be will be declared as a Russian territory. That means that about 30 to 40% of the pre-war Ukrainian territory would be annexed by Russia. And secondly, and I think that is significant, that to even start the negotiations, Russia will make sure that NATO will not include Ukraine. Ukraine will not be a part of NATO. These two preconditions, I think no US presidents, including Donald Trump, will be able to agree, because to accept these two prerequisites or two preconditions before negotiations can even start will be accepting the Russian demands and accepting the NATO defeat. That I am afraid Donald Trump will not be able to agree, because that will put an egg on his face, and that will put an egg on his administration's face for the next 4 years. That would mean the NATO's acceptance of defeat, and that is the reason why I feel this battle, this conflict will only end on the battlefield with the defeat of the Ukrainian army rather than through negotiations. Thank you so much.